Welcome back, family, to another episode of Healing for the Culture with yours truly, Ivory Shields, where we have uncomfortable conversations and teach you the tools that you did not learn in school. Today, family, I have a very special guest that I will be speaking to. We're going to have an honest, open, insightful, and candid conversation, and it is going to be fabulous. It's going to be inspiring. It's going to be moving. And after you listen to this queen and after you hear these jewels that she will be dropping, trust me, you will be inspired to reach your goals and follow your dreams. Y'all, I am talking about the conversation that I am going to have today with none other than Miss Kendra Hall, who is an author and also a survivor of childhood trauma. And I don't want to say a survivor, but she overcame adversity and trials from being a teen mother, everybody. So please help me welcome to the show the queen, Miss Kendra Hall.
Thank you so much for having me, Queen. I'm so excited to share my journey with you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being on. I'm honored to have a conversation with you. So we'll just jump right into it and tell everybody in your words who you are and what you do.
My name is Kendra Hall. I'm an author, a survivor. I write books to help to elevate the masses. That's the goal here. Each one teach one. So what I do is I love to come around to inspire our youth, making sure that they have all of the tools that are necessary for them to go to the next level. I'm also on an amazing board for a nonprofit, Urban Not Average, an amazing, empowering youth nonprofit. I have a workout class each day, guys, Monday through Saturday, Sundays off. But for the most part, you can catch me doing a workout virtually 6:30 a.m. to 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. So check me out, join my class.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yes.
Oh my God. So I will definitely be joining your workout. Okay.
Awesome. And it's free for you, Queen. Definitely free for you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Now, where is the workout hosted?
It's hosted virtually, so I have a site that all you have to do is click on the link. It's already set up all the way. Everything's there, and you just click on and you get to join in. And it's an amazing time, an amazing workout. We get in there and we say our affirmations first, and the affirmations change each week. They're handcrafted by me. So we are in there empowering one another, working it out, and getting fit and healthy.
I absolutely love it. Oh my God. That is amazing. We have to let people know where they can go to join the workouts because that is a part of the holistic approach to taking care of ourselves. We've got to take care of our minds, our bodies, our spirits, the whole thing. So I love that what you're doing.
Thank you so much. For those who want to join, all you have to do is go into my social media right now. Just click to Just Us Jules on Instagram.
Will be there, Queen, with my workout clothes on, ready to go.
Love it.
All right, so let's jump right into this conversation, y'all. So you were a teen mom, found yourself a teen mother, um, and I want us to go back and tell us what your upbringing was like. What was your childhood like?
Ooh, goodness, what a story. So I had a very interesting upbringing. I had what you call tiger parents, and I say that because they were very much into education and they did not play any games with me. I had a very, very strict upbringing. So my I was in church first off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sundays twice. So I was very active in church. I was the youth group leader at church. I was the lead in the youth choir, and I was very heavy into church. And so, in addition to that, my parents had me in every extracurricular activity that you can think of. We all had to play an instrument. So I played an instrument, several instruments actually. I was taking professional acting lessons prior to my pregnancy. I was also had to take do extracurricular activities at school. That was something we had to do on top of our professional lessons after school and church. So, I was heavy into dance in school at the time, as well as acting. I love to act. I love to sing. I love to perform. I was volunteering at my goodness, at playhouses to watch the plays for free at that time. My parents were very much into making sure I was cultured. So, and on top of that, schoolwork was key. My mother is a retired school teacher. So we had school after school. And one of the big things for my parents was that I speak well and I pronunciate as
All
well as
right.
to, yes. So they wanted to make sure my vocabulary was very extensive. They forced me to read the dictionary, and I had to use the words back in a sentence. I would have to write papers for them from our encyclopedias that they bought. So they were very much into me being educated, me being a model child. There was My father was very controlling, and he expected me to comply. And so the household was my father was ahead, and my parents are they're still married. And my mother, she took care of more of the kids in essence. But my father was that kind of hand, that firm hand in essence, to let you know you better get it done. So it was a very strict upbringing for me, and I didn't feel like I had much freedom. And I also felt like I was stifled. I was told that I could not date until I was 16. Mind you, around this time, I'm 13 years old, and I had been already sneaking around behind their back, talking to this young boy, that had fell madly in love with, if you want to call it that, at that age. We had been sneaking around and finding ways to see each other at church since 12. We had our first kiss behind the church fan.
Oh
So,
gosh.
so I was one of those, in essence, you hear the term good girl, good church girl, and you find that the guy who's into more of the rougher lifestyle, and that's kind of how that dynamic went. The first time I had sex, I got pregnant. Yes. I did not have sex again until after the pregnancy, years later, actually. So, so,
Oh goodness.
the
I
first
have
time,
another friend that happened to her when
really?
she was 16.
Oh my gosh. See, we never think it's going to happen to us, especially as teenagers. So this is that story to warn you guys that it can definitely happen. It doesn't
Mm.
matter the time. And I think I just got my period the year before, actually. So this was God said, I'm going to teach you for
Oh.
in essence, for making this decision to sneak around, which I should not have been doing at that age. Again, I got pregnant that first time. I hid it from my parents for months. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was truly petrified of the thought of telling my parents, especially my controlling father. And I didn't know what would happen to me. I really was just in a state of shock and a state of fear.
Sure.
I wound up having a son, but that's neither here nor there right now. But my son's father at the time, we're kids' father now, but my son's father at the time was very happy. So he planned to get me pregnant, and I
How
did not know that.
how old was he?
I was 13 when I got pregnant, and he was 14. Yes,
Oh my God.
babies.
The reason I ask, because I think a lot of time, well, I'll just share my own personal experience. My first cousin, we were best friends growing up. She got pregnant at 14. but her child's father was 27 years old. So, yeah. So,
Mm,
complete stark difference there. So, I always like to ask because I think that that's a very common situation, where it's either a grown man, or it's sort of this kind of puppy love type situation what you have going on. And
correct.
not that either one is better, but but I tell you, it's almost more relieving for me to hear, that it's two kids who are just in love, or think they're in love, they're experiencing their own little puppy love, and you just made a mistake.
Correct, correct. And truly I understand that dynamic that you're speaking about, being very young and the older men. So we're going to get to that part because that part does
Mm.
come in. Definitely. That is a huge part of being a young girl out there on your own is how you operate with the grown men that approach you consistently because it is
Yes.
consistent. Consistent.
Oh, I cannot wait to hear you speak on that because I think it's so relevant now. I think that's something that's going to always be relevant
Yes.
for young girls. And especially, I was going to say, especially Black girls. And the reason I say that is because it's like we are being exposed to so much hypersexuality, more so than our counterparts, more so than our vanilla brothers and sisters or anybody else. I just feel like we're just introduced and force fed so much information and content that's super or very hypersexualized. So we definitely have to talk about that.
I totally
So
agree.
yeah, so that's so interesting that
Mhm.
the dynamic that you grew up in with these very strict parents, and I've heard this story, so often, and because I think a lot of people have this sort of misconception that teen mothers are, they maybe grew up in a single parent home, fathers are absent, and things like that. But your situation is completely different and completely unexpected.
Completely unexpected, especially, for me at the time, I was a Jack and Jill kid. I
Wow.
was living an upper middle class lifestyle. I had a Craftmatic bed, for those who remember those, so it
Wow.
was a different type of lifestyle. I had a pool table downstairs and, all of the things that you would think that should satisfy a child. So it wasn't as though I was at a lack. It was just the fact that I wanted to experience who I was. And I felt as though at that young age, I couldn't figure out who I was because everyone at that time was telling me who I should be and I couldn't
Mm.
feel like I was myself. I couldn't feel free to express myself, and I felt like this relationship with this young person, this best friend of mine at the time was my person to talk to, and I can feel comfortable with. I don't have to hide who I am. So I
Wow.
think that that's a big dynamic for young people is that a lot of times you get so much pressure from the adults in your life to be this way or be that particular way and you're not able to really figure out who you are inside because you're always told who you should be.
Oh, that's such a poignant point. So, and very well said. So, what was sort of what was the next thing for you, or what was the catalyst that sort of pushed you to, I guess, follow your your dreams?
So many things happened, Ivory, honestly. When I got pregnant and I finally told my parents, I probably was about 5 months by the time I told them. And I had been hiding the pregnancy. And so when I did tell my parents, I was put out. I was given a choice to go into to leave the state, go into some program. It's actually looked like a home where you wear these long dresses out in like Wisconsin someplace, and then
No.
give my baby.
What
Yes,
year? What state where did you
I
grow up?
lived in New Jersey. And I still live in New Jersey.
Okay, Jersey girl.
Yes. So I am a Jersey girl. Yes, definitely. And so, I'm in New Jersey, and my parents they showed me a tape of me going into of the program where I would wear these dresses. I didn't see anybody who looked like me, mind you. Um, and you give your baby up for adoption, and you come back home like nothing happened. So it's almost like you go away for camp or something, and then you come back like nothing happened. And that wasn't an option for me because I did not want to give my baby up for adoption. And I think if my parents could have forced that on me, they would have. But since I said no, that was not what I wanted. My father said, "Okay, fine. You're going to be poor." That's what he said. "And you're going to be out on the street." And that pretty much was the start of me being homeless. I found myself on a basement floor, mice around me, pregnant, big stomach, hot. It's and that became a very traumatic experience, as well as pivotal moments when you find yourself alone in situations where you really don't have the tools to equip yourself to take care of yourself. So you're really at the mercy of the other people that are around you. I wound up having the baby in the hospital by myself. I was actually dropped off by another family member. I had moved away. I was, again, not with my parents. They put me out. And the family member dropped me off when my water broke. Mind you, by this time I'm 14. It's 5 days after my 14th birthday. I gave birth, and I had the baby in the hospital by myself. In the hospital, the nurses would not give me medication. They told me I have to remember the pain so I don't do this again. And so I got a lot of harsh lessons by adults. I was in excruciating pain. Um, in the hospital by myself giving birth. They, for some reason, found it in their spirit to bring all these doctors. I guess it was a teaching hospital. I was at Robert Wood Johnson when I gave birth. So all these doctors were lined up around me, and I'm by myself. It was terrifying. And it was one of those experiences that you just never forget because you realize how alone you can be in life and how you have to pull it out, this energy out of nowhere just to keep going. And that's what I had to do. After I gave birth, for some time, no one came to the hospital. On the day of my discharge is when I was told that where I was staying at, I couldn't stay any longer, and I was swept off to another journey, to a new place. And I put a lot of this in my book as well, Dropping Jewels, Guiding Principles to Help Girls Live Their Best Life. And it was really very trying. I went from that experience of giving birth into going into a totally new location. And in this new location, I was given a lot of even more freedom, right? Because now I had somebody to watch my child, and the person that I was staying with at the time was pushing me to go out with their friends, which were older than me. So I was 14, just giving birth, and the people that I was around were 18, 19, 20, early 20s, and they liked to go out and party. I'd never been out to a party besides church parties. Okay.
Yeah, yes, it was like wide open for you.
Wide open, introducing me to older men, introducing me to fast lifestyles that I had no business even being around at the time. But I realized how, I'm in the tunnel in New York, if those who remember the tunnel, I'm all these different locations and the hot spots, and I'm 14 with a fake ID, with that look
Oh
nothing like me, mind you. So, and it just it showed me also a different part of life. So now I'm around all these older men who are trying to pull me into their world, and in their mind I was their diamond in the rough. And now I have 30 something year olds, and I wound up, of course, telling my age. I looked 14. I did not look 18. And nobody cared I was 14. None of the older guys, that were trying to talk to me. And I found myself in a situation, in different situations, where I really learned through that experience how to behave and how to conduct myself. So, and being around older men definitely makes you grow up fast. So I had that, those experiences, but I also was very much still wanting to be with my son's father. So we were trying our best shortly after to just kind of make it work, right? Even at we were both, I was 14, he was 15.
Were his parents involved at all?
Huh. So his mother had passed,
Mm,
and his father was not around. He was being raised by his grandparents at the time,
okay.
and so his family did not know about the baby till after the baby was born. Yes. So so that was a shock. We actually, we walked over there to his family's house with the baby. And by that and by that time they were in shock. They had heard some rumors, but they weren't sure fully. His sister knew. The younger people in the family knew, but the older people did not. And I find that to be very commonplace where the younger people know some information and the older people don't, but this information they should know, right?
Right.
Because the kids are scared to tell the parents because of
Mhm.
what's going to happen. So we
Right.
wound up telling his grandparents, and while they weren't happy, they were happy with the baby who's so cute. Who, he was so adorable, bright blue eyes, curly hair, cute little shiny little face. So they definitely loved the baby. So
Yeah.
that I think that um, his family was amazing. Honestly, his family, I can't. At that time, they were very loving towards me, and I still love his family. Definitely, I wound up eventually living with my son's father's family, and that's where a lot of the abuse started with my son's father and myself, right? So I was fighting to be with this guy for so long, my the love of my life in my mind at the time. But little did I know that I was pushing myself in a worse situation than I was with my controlling father, with him as a controlling young person. And when you're young, unfortunately, there is what I call no chill. There is no the leash is off, okay? However you feel is how you feel, and your emotions are raw. There's no care about if anybody goes to jail or anything happens. You just do what you want. And I've
Right.
noticed that a lot, right? Because you're young, your hormones are going crazy, and you're probably not thinking of the consequences for your actions.
Your
So
brain isn't fully developed to
right,
even
exactly.
process those consequences.
Exactly. So, I found myself in a situation where, well, many situations where I was, physically getting beat on. His family knew about it, but no one wanted to intervene due
Mm.
to the abuse. I did not, I found myself in situations where I had no place to go, um, with dealing with the abuse because I was already in a situation where I didn't have many options of a place to go to. So I'm now stuck in the situations. It's just kind of, I felt like I had to take the abuse. Um, However, there was a time when I did reach out to my father and my parents rather, I looked like Tina Turner one night. I thought he was going to kill me. And my eyes were black. My face was all swelled up. I couldn't open my jaw. And mind you, I believe I was 15 at the time. And I took a journey. My son's father had beat me up. He left the grandmother's house where we were at, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to my parents. I need them. I need somebody because I didn't know what else to do. And I journeyed an hour and a half walk to my parents' house with my baby, middle of the night. And I went to the house. I went to, knock on the door. And sorry. So my father told me that I could not come in the house. He said that I can sleep in one of the cars, that I would be messing up, that he would not allow me um, to taint basically the other children, my siblings in the house, and that I was not allowed to come in. And I was pleading with him. You know, I have my son, daddy, please. And he's, he said, do you want to sleep in the car or not? Basically like very cold, no empathy. Mind you, my father's a Scorpio. I don't know if that helps, but so, but it was, and I'm just trying to liven it up because it was such a
Yeah.
heavy moment, for me at the time to, not have anyone to turn to. And I wound up, telling my father, basically, you never have my back. In essence, I was like, forget it, forget it. That's what I said. I was like, forget it. I felt so defeated. And he slammed the door in my face. Me and my baby slammed the door, bloop, you know, slammed the
Wow.
door. And we had to take that walk back an hour and some change in the middle of the night, back to that abusive situation. And it wasn't until 16 where I was thrown through a double glass window that I realized that it was time for me to go. And I wound up being thrown through the double glass window. When I came up from being in the windowsill, the second part of the glass shot down and it barely missed my neck. And I realized that it was time for me to go and I couldn't take this anymore. So that night, my son's father, he felt so bad for what happened. For throwing me through the window. He's crying. I'm crying. But I'm still in the back of my mind at that time. I know that it was time for me to go. I had to find another way to live. The next day, he went out with some friends, and I went down to social services and I said, I need help. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to be killed. I'm not going to make it. And they had to call over to different shelters and find one that would take me because I was only 16, and usually you have to be 18 to go into these programs.
Wow.
So I wound up going into a domestic violence shelter, and let me tell you, it was an experience because I didn't realize how much all of the things that I had went through was taking a toll on me. When I tried to hold the cup in the shelter, my hands were shaking like this. Like this is how bad my nerves, like I couldn't hold anything. My nerves were really shot at that time. So it was even hard for me to hold my child because I was like shaking, like trembling, and just trying to get my bearings from all of the trauma that I had went through for these short years, but felt like very long years of just trying to stay afloat. So it's definitely been a journey. It definitely has
Oh,
been.
oh my God. Oh my God. What is whew. I'm not usually at a loss for words. Um, but I just feel that heaviness. You know, I just can't imagine what you were going through. I can't even imagine how you got through it.
Prayer. Honestly, I have to say prayer. Thank God I had, to be able to pull on that background, to be able to know that God still loved me. I was angry at my parents, but I knew that God loved me and I can move on just by prayer. Just pray and work.
Having those roots, I think, made a huge difference for you. Um, and I think for me personally, I'm not a religious person. I'm very spiritual. But I also grew up in Christianity and I grew up going to church and all of that. And I think that religion has its place.
Correct.
And so, for instances just like this, and it can be a source of respite and solace for us. And I think it's a beautiful introductory to a more spiritual base or spiritually based life. So, yeah, you got to give your parents credit for that much. If you
Exactly.
don't give them credit for anything else.
Exactly. And that's the truth. You have to be able to be able to see the true lessons and the reasoning why things happen. Sometimes we don't feel like we can, see the forest or the trees, and that's why it's important to take a step back and really look at your life and all of your experiences as a way to shape you and mold you and bring out the person who of learn who you are inside. That's what these lessons have done. They've shaped me and they've shown me who I am, and I can live in my authentic truth and not
Mhm.
be feel like I have to be someone else, because after going through all that I went through, I only want to be me. That's it.
Oh, love it.
That's it. It's true.
Love that. And and you know that's so well said. We go through these lessons, and I believe that we do choose our parents, and we choose them based on their ability to create the perfect circumstances to get the lessons that we need to get in these
Right.
lifetimes. They are the perfect ones. They're going to make the right decisions. They're going to move a certain way that creates this environment, these circumstances, this situation for us to be in, for us to get these particular life lessons that we came here to get. Um, and so I think that when we take on that perspective, it puts us back into a place of power. It empowers us instead of leaving us feeling like victims.
Right.
Because choosing to be being a victim is a choice. We can choose to be a victim, or we can choose to reframe our thought process and our perspective around our experiences.
That's
And
so true.
and that's what I like to teach, and that's what I encourage everyone to do. Um, yeah. So I have to ask you, what is your relationship like with your parents now, especially your father?
My relationship with my parents is fine. If that's, in essence, because I have been out on my own since I've been 13. So they see that I've done things, I've made progress. So the relationship is great. Now, when I wasn't doing well, as well, the relationship was more strained, right? I feel like that's the nature of humans, parents or not, in a lot of situations where you're doing well, everybody embraces you. When you're not doing as well, you're kind of repelled and thrown to the side. So, I purchased my first house at 24. I went on to get, my 2 degrees. I've done the work that they, in essence, wanted me to do. So I believe that that's brought in that acceptance. But I do still, I take into account that it's part of that is because I'm doing well, right? And I remember still those times. Well, I still forget, I forgive my parents, but I still remember the times where I was in a room with my father. He and my son was there. He would talk to every other child except for my son. And those were very trying times where my child and myself, we were both ignored in a crowded room. If we found ourselves in the room with my father, he would ignore us like we were not even there, like we just look past us and not speak to us. And I was truly disowned. Keep this in mind, truly disowned, and by my father. So while I definitely forgive my parents and definitely love them and still consider them to be of wisdom and all of those amazing things. I'm still, proud of them to be as individuals. I do understand again that just in life, there's a limit to how much love I think sometimes people can give, even if they want to. We say unconditional love, but only, in my opinion, God can give us that unconditional love. Human love is conditional. So
Yeah,
that's kind of how I look at it.
very well said. That your story of being disowned resonates with me because my grandmother, she had a very similar story to yours. She had a child, I think when she was 16, I think was when 16 or 17. And this was back in, I don't know, the 40s, I guess. And she, I think, was the second girl to have a child out of wedlock. And it was 13 of them, so many of them. And when she did, they took her baby, they took her firstborn, her parents, and they raised him. But moving forward, she was sort of kind of the outcast, and my grandmother she was a Scorpio. She was a rebel with a cause, she was prideful, and she was like, well, listen, I don't need to ask you for anything. She was like you. And and so she went on, and she had five more children, and she raised her children by herself. And I hear similar stories from my uncles that they were treated very differently by her parents, by the grandparents. They weren't allowed to sit on the furniture. They had to sit on the floor and things like that. So, when you were telling that story, it just made me think about the stories I've heard in my own life from my uncles and my grandmother.
How interesting. What a story, because it's almost like it's its own caste system within the family. And that's
Yeah,
what's very interesting. And so I
yeah,
see that. So also some people can sit on the sofa that have, in essence, but some can't. Or, this person has more opportunity than the other child, because of what the parent may have done. There's a lot of, it's almost very petty to me that those things
very.
happen, right? Yes. And so when we think back of these types of stories, it's almost like it teaches us what not to do. And it engraves in our mind not to be this way. And that's one of the things I get from all of these types of stories. It's a heeding, it's a warning of not, don't be this way. You see what's going on, you don't like it, then don't become that person. And so I've done everything to never be like the adults that I came across as a young person. A lot of the adults that were around, unfortunately, were not very helpful, for me,
Wow.
because I felt as though they wanted to discipline me, and the discipline overrode their need for wanting to help me, right? They just wanted
Wow.
to, in essence, see me uh, pay for the mistakes that in their mind, they felt I made. It was a constant discipline type of situation, and or um, some way to kind of stick their foot down on me, to push me back down to the ground whenever I felt as though I had a type of win. That's kind of how I felt as a young person, honestly,
Wow.
because I felt as though not many of the adults wanted to see me succeed in a lot of ways, because they wanted me to play out the scene of a teen parent, and just who doesn't have anything, who's constantly looking, in essence, to have their hand out. I was completely opposite. I was out there moving around and making moves, in essence, that were going to propel me to the next level. And so, that was my thought process. And in addition to that, um, because I had that educational background, it was so helpful for me to be able to learn what programs were available to me, and be able to decipher what some of the paperwork was that I was given, right? Because that's one of the things you need to learn. You need to learn how to critically think as a young person in
Yeah.
general. So it was helpful for me to have that educational background, because I found myself with my kids. I wound up having three kids by the time I was 18, mind you. So
Wow.
three kids by the time I'm 18. And so, if when I needed help, I would go to the library with the kids, and I would look things up. I would find a way to find answers. I wasn't just satisfied with no. I looked for more ways to be able to accomplish my goals. Whatever I needed to do, in essence, that was in alignment with my value system, is what I did.
Wow. You're truly a jewel. I
Thank you, Queen.
Oh, absolutely. You're so welcome. You are truly a jewel and a light, because your life could have taken a completely different turn and could be on a completely different trajectory.
Correct.
And I mean, with everything that you've gone through and that you have overcome, it's just really amazing. And it speaks to the powerful spirit that you have, and your story and your ability to come through that is just confirmation that your story has to be, it's not for you to keep to yourself.
Right, exactly. That's one of the main things about my story is that I knew that I could not keep it to myself. I was already sharing it with young people that I would come across who were needed assistance. For some reason, I've always been that person that people go to when they need help. So naturally, I've been the person that has been called upon when people need things, in essence, support and someone listening ear, and or they find themselves in situations they don't know how to get out of. So naturally I was already receiving that even as a young person, younger person in
Right.
essence. So I knew that I needed to share this story, my story, on a larger scale, and that's why I decided to write my book, Dropping Jewels: Guiding Principles to Help Girls Live Their Best Life. I wanted to be able to impart that knowledge and to give the life lessons that would be able to help the next woman, young woman, to move forward and not make the same decisions in certain instances that I did.
Wow. And I love that. So where can they buy the book? Can they get it from your, if they go to your Instagram account, can they order your book?
You can order my book from www.droppinjewels.com. And I also have
Perfect.
some new books that just came out actually a couple weeks ago. So
Okay.
I have
Got
my
it.
workout book, guys. So Workout with Kendra. Check me out. It's also on Amazon, Dropping Jewels, Workout with Kendra. That's there, and that's an accountability, health, and wellness planner. So
Love
check that
it.
out to go along with my fit classes. In addition, I have Keeping Your Vibes High. So
Ooh,
guys, check that out. I have an audiobook coming soon. You will see that in the next couple of weeks. The audiobook is already taped, and we're just waiting for that approval. And you'll see that audiobook on Audibles. So make sure you get that companion audiobook to Keeping Your Vibes High. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time.
yes, this is exciting. I'm so happy for you. I'm
Thank
excited for
you.
you. And definitely, we will definitely be supporting you getting a copy of the book. I would love to have mine autographed by
Yes.
you. And family, please go and follow this queen, dropping jewels. She drops jewels all the time. With everything you've been through, all of that wisdom, I'm down to hear the jewels that you are dropping.
Thank you so much, Queen.
You are absolutely welcome, because you're definitely you know you're protected, and you're gifted, and you're covered, and
Amen.
you've got a lot, and a lot to share with the world, and you are a lighthouse, and the world needs you, so keep shining, queen.
Thank you so much, phenomenal Queen. I'm so thankful for you taking your time out to share my journey and to be able to really speak life into everything that you speak about. I love it. I love your energy. You are absolutely a gift. Thank
Oh,
you.
Ashe. Thank you, queen. Well, family, this has been an amazing conversation. I know I am inspired by it, and I know that someone else is inspired by this, and motivated by this. And really, what you can take away from this is follow your own path, and no matter how hard and difficult and the obstacles that are in front of you, there's always a where there's a will, there is a way. And don't lose sight of your authenticity. Don't lose sight of who you want to be in your dreams. even when the people who are putting you down are the people closest to you, such as your parents. Just persevere and understand that we are put in situations a lot of times by our own parents in order for us to get the lessons that we are supposed to get and evolve into the person that we are supposed to be in this lifetime. And this, Miss Kendra Hall, is a perfect and phenomenal example of that. So family, thank y'all for tuning in. Miss Kendra Hall, thank you so much, Queen. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. And family, we will see y'all back next time on Healing for the Culture with yours truly, Ivory Shields. Peace and abundance, family.